The objective is to have a Palestinian state on the borders of 1967 that will live in
peace and security.
The lesson of history is that peace and security do not come easily.
Peace and stability
Must decide whether we are serious about peace and security. To recognize Israel's legitimacy and its right to exist in peace and security. That's how we will find new pathways to peace and security. That is the work that we must do.
In peace and security.
Peace and security and coexistence.
A movement towards peace. If we have this triangle, economy, security, and peace, then peace can succeed.
It is morning. You wake up.
Hey, come on.
You greet your loved ones. You grab the morning paper. And although it seems like any ordinary day, it isn't. For one extraordinary reason.
A historic and unprecedented event has occurred. The question of whether or not we are alone in the universe has been answered.
This is so cool.
More ships have just arrived over India, England, and Germany.
I really don't think they flew 90 billion light years to come down here and start a fight.
We gotta stop them! They're gonna kill us all!
They're using our own satellites against us. The clock is ticking.
It's over.
Years from now, they're gonna ask, where were you when they took over the planet?
We'll be fine. I promise. It's over. I'm sorry, but it's over. I think it's time.
Your faith in us, but never in yourselves. From here, the fight will be your own.
We're running out of time. We're running out of clues. And there's an invasion coming. So really, we need to go right now.
War has started.
My dad said they come. He said, we ain't alone. He said, one day we find them. Or they find us.
How desperate are you? And you call on such lost creatures to defend you.
Our enemy can take any shape.
You have made me very desperate.
They could be anywhere.
We're not a team. We're a time bomb.
This is nothing we were ever trained for.
And how are you, bro?
Shabbat Shalom, Pastor Brian. How are you?
Yes, I am doing pretty well overall. Yes, yes. Full day, but I'm here and present Amen.
Baruch Hashem.
So,
Praise be His name.
yes. Yes, and I suppose it's probably what, 10 or 11 at your time zone now in the
It's
night.
about 11, yeah, over here.
Okay. So I'm sorry to keep you up so late, but let's do this and let's just bless the Lord. And if you get too tired and you can't do both hours, I understand. I don't want to put you out too much, but
Not a problem. I think we have, if I remember correctly, the subject that we're doing tonight is quite extensive
lengthy.
one.
Yes,
On the
yes.
rapture. So let's see what we get through tonight.
Okay. Well, first, as some of my listening audience, of course, is it's a continual changing of viewing audience and listening audience.
Sure.
You know, so we would like, perhaps you would tell us a little bit about yourself and this kind of thing and who you are. Just introduce yourself to my listening audience, please.
Well, I mean, I've been on the shores of America a number of times. In 1997, I went to America to work over there permanently in New York City. And it was just during that time that I was basically had to come back to England after 3 months because my son was ill with a terminal illness that I didn't know about when I'd left England to live in America. And I had actually had a job as well in Manhattan. And had I stayed in America, I would have probably likely worked in the Twin Towers had I stayed there, because that's where my job was designated. But because of, various things going on at the time, they couldn't quite make up their mind where to place me, because the bank I was going to work for, or at least they were trying to make me work for, was Nomura International in one of the towers. So I believe at that time that through my son was the reason that I was brought back to England and not allowed to stay in America. And as you know, 5 years later, those Twin Towers became rubble. So praise be to the Master for that. And when I came back, in 1998, when I was working when I came back the same year, I got a job with Nomura International in London, same bank, and merchant bank. And after that, I was there for about a year, and then the Master spoke to me in that bank. He told me to follow him. And that was the beginning of my turning point from my Islamic faith, that I was a Sunni Muslim at that time. Before that, brought up as a Muslim, predominantly in Pakistan and partially in England. So, and then that kind of, changed my life around to obeying the Master and following after him. And I haven't really looked back after that. That's basic, my story. And then he told me that he had a plan for me. He told me that he had a mission that I had to do for him. And then I just needed to just follow him. And so I did.
That is what happened with the 12 disciples as well, Simon. You know that from reading in the New Testament. When he said, "Yo, follow me," then they dropped everything. And whatever they were doing, that was not their job anymore. They went after Jesus, And so I like that testimony that you're giving there.
That's right. That's right. So, as were the disciples called out by him. And so he has, calling for various people in the world who he calls out to do his work. And he started to, when I first came in, he started to show me what I should and what I shouldn't do, which was quite amazing because I had no Bible knowledge at that time. I mean, I had Quranic knowledge, I had Islamic knowledge, but didn't really have biblical knowledge, and which I then, studied, and he assisted me, and I then learned very, very quickly.
Yes. Yes, I would think so, with that newfound faith in the Lord, and he does help with the revelation of what the scriptures mean. He helps me even still every time I read it.
I mean, your show is called Revelations per Minute, and you could practically imagine that an ex-Muslim was receiving, in fact, revelations per second, not just revelations per minute. As I was going through the Bible, it was like I was learning things very, very rapidly. My learning curve was extremely quick, I should say. I was very, very quick because I could understand a lot of the concepts that are in the scriptures that I think a lot of the Western people find difficult.
Yes, yes, I see, because of your upbringing. Yes, that makes sense too. It's all Greek to us. Amen. In the beginning, we have to be taught, and this is why this is said, and this is why this is said, because we don't understand the customs of the culture. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point.
That's right. I think we're probably, you guys are probably about 2,100 years, if not less, removed from that culture. And so therefore, unless you live in that culture, you find it difficult to understand a lot of the words in the Bible.
Wow. Good. What about your website? At what point did you start to develop books and a website and those kind of things?
At that particular time, I had no idea about a website. I basically asked him, I said to him, the first question that I asked him was, I said, Master, what would you like me to do for you? And he told me to create a website. And then just after that point, a Christian scholar became my friend who I didn't know prior to this meeting. And another man phoned me who I didn't know either who he was and how he got my number. So I then had meetings with them, and then that was the person, the Christian scholar was a man who helped me set up the first website. In other words, he gave me the name of a contact who would give me disk space, web-based space, because, websites in those days were new. So I set up the website, and it was through that particular website that which I didn't know at the time, the purpose of the website, because, no Muslim who's just left his faith wants to be humiliated on the internet by every Tom, Dick, and Harry, so to speak, because Muslims will read that and they will write to you and they will criticize you. So I didn't quite understand the purpose behind it, but I walked in faith, knowing that there was some purpose behind it, and I must obey. As I know, too well, not to obey God is disobedience. So I did that, and it was about 4 years later that through that website, Saudi Arabia, one of the leading countries where Islam actually originated from, there was a man there who read the contents on that website. Now, this man was from a very prominent Muslim family. He still is a very prominent man from a very prominent Muslim family in the Islamic world. Now, in Saudi Arabia, they block all websites. You cannot get a Christian type website through to the internet that they can see. They block them, period. I have seen that, and I've heard from various people who are out there, even today, that they don't allow the websites to be broadcast over there. So at that particular moment in time, I don't know how, this was God's allowance. This man was able to see my website. It wasn't blocked on that particular day. And that man told me that your site wasn't blocked. I was able to see the information. He then went and looked at the books that they keep, the personal library, and he was able to verify the information that I had put out there was correct, according to what I'd put about Islam and what had been going on about Islam, and why, I decided that Islam wasn't the truth and I had to follow after the Messiah. And he then basically wanted to come and see me in London, and he told me that he would pass through London going to the U.S., and he was going to California, obviously, at that time. And he said, would I be willing to see him? So I said, yes, I would be willing to see him if he passed through. I gave him my telephone number to contact me, and then I didn't hear from him for a while, and then one day he called me out of the blue. And obviously, when you're a Muslim convert, your family or your families are afraid that you shouldn't really go and see Muslims because you don't know if they're going to be radical, they're going to try and kill you for honor because you left Islam. But anyhow, I said that I was going to see him as I promised him. So he called me. I went to Heathrow Airport. He was in a hotel over there, a fine hotel, in fact. I went and saw him. He was an Arab gentleman, dressed in Arab suit. Yes. This is prior to all the bad things happening, of course, in America, and so
we're going to have
down, and he basically said to me that he'd come to accept the master.
Wow, that's awesome. Now let's see. We're going to hold this thought Simon, till after this commercial break. And if you want to tell us more about this meeting, we'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, we're listening to LBN.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Are you or someone you know suffering from high blood pressure, cholesterol, or chest pains? Are you looking for a more natural way to overcome these health challenges? Extendovite is made from herbs known to help with these symptoms. Made from garlic,